Hello and welcome back to Plot to Go, episode number 2. This week we're speaking about Nosferatu, crazy vampire movie. I'm Jack.
I'm Owen.
And should we just dive into Nosferatu? Owen?
Yeah, I just want you to go off on one.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, it's odd that we're starting with me because I don't think I'm in the consensus with this movie.
Great, that's the perfect place to start.
I enjoyed it. I don't want to start really negative. I did enjoy it. I thought it was visually stunning. We got to see it in IMAX. We were very close to the screen as well, so you were very immersed.
Yeah, we were like in it. Hence
Totally.
why I got jump scared so many times.
Oh, I maybe should preface, I'm not a massive horror person.
Not that I am either,
Sure.
by any means. I think I'm just more inclined to go watch something like that, probably.
Yeah, I mean, what drew me to the cinema was Robert Eggers and kind of like the cast and stuff around this movie. But I weirdly didn't find it all that horrific. I wasn't scared that much, and I do get scared very easily in films. But I think that's a telltale sign that I maybe wasn't as immersed as I should have been if I wasn't entirely scared. Because I feel like the thing that the movie is going for is like horror. But yeah, I wasn't completely fully in it.
What do you think was the reason for that?
I don't know. I really don't know. I've been trying to unpack like why I didn't particularly love it, because I think from a crafts perspective, it's kind of like immaculate.
Sure.
You really cannot fault it.
Yeah, the Sydney Sweeney film.
The Sydney Sweeney. Oh, no. I will say this is a better horror movie than Immaculate.
Yeah.
Like visually, I have no qualms whatsoever. Really loved the kind of use of natural lighting. Like it was beautiful cinematography, but not in a flashy cinematography kind of way. It was all like natural light. It was candles. It was windows. It was
Sure, it was quite simple. I feel like you don't see as much of that now. I think when I think of that sort of thing, I go more towards like Phantom Thread or something with like natural lighting. Something that's more, I don't know if I say cozy, but you kind of get the gist. Just like shooting inside a home, and you just feel like the light coming through the window, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Holdovers, kind of similar.
It was for the cool atmosphere that it was creating. It used like natural light sources very well, and also speaking of that, like the color palette. See, if you were to take, do you know those screenshots where people take movies and then they boil it down to like the 5 main colors in that frame?
Yes, yeah.
I feel like you could do that with the entire movie, and you would only have about like 5 colors.
Yeah, and I think you knew they did it so like you kind of know the scenes where you were comfortable and where you weren't. Like the opening scene, you have it's that sort of like blues and blacks. You're like terrified. Maybe it's just me. And then the next scene is you're in sunlight and you're like, oh, I can breathe again. And those are 2 completely different color palettes. But I think the further you get into the film, it probably does become more of that uniform. Those blacks and blues.
Yeah, and anything that's not that does contrast and stand out.
Yeah.
Really well. And then like sonically, it was harrowing, and like the voice of Nosferatu being this overbearing, like inescapable voice when you hear it, really cool. The whole like set of Germany, but then also his castle, I was enamored by that.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I found it like void of anything, because I think there is some substance to it, and it's maybe just that I don't connect with Eggers as much as a director and the way he likes to tell stories. But I don't feel like I connected emotionally to any character.
Okay.
And like by the end, not spoiling it, even though it's like over a decade, or not a decade, a century old story.
Oh God, how old is...
So this is a remake of the 1922 film.
How many remakes have there been in between?
So Nosferatu was a like loose adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula, I think.
It kind of got that vibe.
Well,
I was wondering
yeah.
if they were going to be like, they were like Count Orlok, and I thought they were literally going to do Count Dracula.
Yeah. What's his name though? He actually does have a name.
Or like his
Count.
Yeah, Count Orlok, I think. Is
No, there's another.
like
Count,
what his first name?
no, like Count something.
Oh,
In like Dracula, he has a different name.
oh Vlad. It's not Vlad.
It's no, yes, something like that.
Vlad.
So Count Vlad, okay. I think between the 1922 Nosferatu and now, I think there's been like 4 like major adaptations, but then some are like Dracula, like is it Francis Ford Coppola?
Is this the Gary Oldman one?
I don't know.
Let me check. It is Bram Stoker's Dracula with Gary Oldman
By Coppola.
by Francis Ford Coppola.
Right, okay. Yeah, I guess gothic horror is not kind of my thing, so it's not. I haven't seen any adaptation. I've read the book.
Interesting. When did you read that?
High school, yeah. It wasn't light perusing Dracula.
I mean, you might. I have Frankenstein
maybe, yeah.
somewhere. I just haven't read it yet.
Good book. So because Nosferatu is slightly different, it goes in slightly different directions. We follow different characters. I think that's also part of the reason I didn't connect fully, is that I really was so immersed in that first act with Nicholas Holt's character. And then you cut back to Germany and I am invested in Lily Rose Depp, but then there's all these like superfluous kind of characters that I just don't think add anything.
Yeah, there's a strange vibe to the film where I think you're following Nicholas Holt's character. I think you mentioned emotional connection. I think at that point in the film I was emotionally connected to Nicholas Holt's character up until, would you say that's like the end of the first act?
Yeah, I would say so.
And then it kicks into a more, I was going to say Avenger type story. It's not. I mean like a team up kind of story.
Sure.
Where you've got Lily Rose Depp. I think it literally cuts to that scene that we're not happy with their performances in that specific scene. And then they start putting like a group together to take out Nosferatu.
Yes.
And it's a completely different vibe from what you were just watching.
And I feel like that first act is so immersive and you are connected to Nicholas Hoult. I guess there is some sort of emotional connection there, but the emotional connection is simply fear.
Yes.
And that bit is scary. I think that's the scariest part of the movie. I just think it kind of loses that. I actually think the things that are scarier are Lily Rose Depp stuff, which I guess is the point because you don't see Nosferatu a lot.
Do you mean like her performance in those scenes?
Yeah, like her like contortionist.
Yeah, that
stuff.
was the stuff that she can do with her face. I think is unreal.
Yeah.
I said this to you already, but she manages to do this screen painting, that famous one, literally in that opening scene, and it's terrifying to look at.
Do you want to jump into performances as a whole?
Yeah, let's do that because I think that adds context for what we're saying for most of the film.
How did you feel about the performances?
It's a real mixed bag. So I just want to run back because do you want to rate this out of 5? Do you want to do that?
Do you want to rate it?
I think I do. I've not done it on Letterboxd yet. So yours is, you've done 3.5.
Yeah, I have this at 3.5 out of 5.
I've not made a concrete decision yet. Mine was either going to be 3.5 or 4. And I can't decide. And maybe I'll decide after this conversation because it's one of those films that the more I think about it, the more it kind of like irks me.
Yeah.
So it might drop further. It could drop to a 3 depending on how this conversation goes.
Oh.
Yeah. Anyway, performances. Nicholas Hoult, I think agreed was the best performance in the film. The Doctor, I don't remember that actor's name. I actually like his performance because he doesn't do much. He's just, do you know, like he's just a side character.
Which Doctor are you on about?
The one that's essentially like Willem Dafoe's
like
friend.
Right Hand Man. Ralph Ineson.
Like, just believable
yes.
Doctor.
Yes, totally.
And then you have Lily Rose Depp, who I think in some scenes is very good, and in others kind of lets you down, in the sense that you've watched her do a really good performance at some points in the film, and then at some other points, I'd say more towards the middle for myself, you kind of lose that, because some of her performance becomes kind of, I don't want to say childish, but it's not whingy. That's not a good word for it either, but there is like an essence of that. Kind of like a more shallow performance. Emma Corrin, I don't think either of us think had a good performance in this.
No.
Willem Dafoe is a funny one, because I've already said this to you, where I like his performance in this, but I think he acts like he's in a completely different film, which works for his character to an extent, because he is kind of like this quirky doctor, professor, academic old man that's supposed to be disconnected from reality in some way, but it becomes more fairy tale like, as opposed to like grim tales, where it's so not grounded in reality that he just is like this quirky Yoda type character, where like he's not in the same plane of existence, and that's fine, but it has to be like 10% and not like 30. Who am I missing?
Aaron Taylor Johnson.
I'm going to say I didn't have a problem with his performance until it's not the scene that I think you have a problem with. It's actually when he's like lying on top of the graves. And I just didn't believe it. There was just there's something about his performance in that scene that I was just like, this feels like someone in a theatre performance. A kind of Romeo and Juliet kind of at the very end sort of performance. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about all of those actors in that film.
Think what you get across there is that they feel like they're in different movies. You said that about Willem Dafoe, but I think the same can be said about the majority of actors. I think that their varying degrees of like seriousness doesn't match up with the screenplay in a weird way. Like both Emma Corrin and Aaron Taylor Johnson, for me, I just found like they took me out of the film completely. I think it was like this like very melodramatic way of delivering lines that it wasn't immersive when you have like someone like Nicholas Hoult who is playing it so serious, especially at the start, and that is what immerses you in the movie. And then you get to this like next chunk of the movie, and suddenly these people are acting like theatrical in a way. Weirdly, when you were talking about Lily Rose Depp, because I said to you I did have a slight issue with her performance, it's grown on me. And I weirdly think I don't have the same issues with her performance that you do. I think when she's being zany and weird and contortionist and all that, that's phenomenal. Like seriously phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I also think when she's delivering these like, you didn't have a word to put to it. I don't really know a word. Like childish. It's not even childish because it's coming from a place of like
fear,
desire, and well, both.
Sure.
Two sides of the same coin, I guess, in the movie.
Right.
I really enjoyed that stuff.
I think the scene I'm thinking of is her and Emma Corrin speaking on the beach, and she's like speaking so abstractly about things and kind of like looking to the sky and like open-eyed, like giving this monologue.
Yeah.
And I did not believe it.
It's in scenes like that I think if the performance falters, where it's like, we need to tell you what's happening in the plot. So let's go into this melodramatic, like...
That's it. It's melodrama.
Yeah.
She gives some melodramatic performances.
Yeah.
All of the stuff, I think, where she is in fear is excellent. But it's those moments.
I think her quiet moments as well are great. Like, she does a lot with her face. It's really annoying, because it's like one of these performances that I want to love, because I love so much of it, but there's just something that's separating me from like fully enjoying it.
Sure.
Which sucks.
Yeah. Although it never had enough of an impact for it to bother me in the film. It's just something that I picked up on.
Yeah, okay.
It didn't... I think what I was kind of getting at when I asked you the question earlier, which was maybe a little bit too early, about your immersion is that perhaps the performances were the things that ruined the immersion for you.
I don't know. I would say there's part of it that will be performance, because actively, when it wasn't scenes with Nicholas Hoult, Lily Rose Depp, well, I'm going to name so many people, but Nicholas Hoult, Lily Rose Depp, Willem Dafoe, or Bill Skarsgård, I was just detached from the movie. I wasn't interested.
Okay.
Actually, that's a lie, because the Doctor's scenes were great as well. It really was Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Emma Corrin's scenes.
That's fair enough. We've also skipped over Bill Skarsgård's
Yes,
performance.
yeah.
Obviously, I didn't know anything about this film going into it. I understand that Nosferatu is like this story that's been around for donkeys, but I never watched it. Never watched any of the remakes either. I didn't know that was Bill Skarsgård in that costume, which I think is fantastic.
Could you even call it a costume?
He's not wearing much. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of prosthetics going on, but like, yeah, I just could not tell that was him. I think he's so foreboding that like you're not going to think that's Bill Skarsgård. I'm assuming Bill Skarsgård's quite tall.
Yes,
but they make Count Orlok look huge and broad as well. What do you think of his performance?
Loved it. It's one of these performances I think that won't get the praise it deserves because it's caked in prosthetics and stuff, and they normally don't. But yeah, very foreboding. I enjoyed the voice that he put on for Nosferatu. I thought that was completely intimidating. And I also like the way that Eggers chose to like shoot him in an indirect way. Like, you don't really ever see him fully unless he's like devouring one of his victims, you know? Like, that's when you see him, and it's in a state of like fragileness. Like, he's not foreboding when he's munching on somebody.
Yeah, there's a lot of cloaks and shadows at certain points for that character, and you mentioned desire. I think you can really feel that in his character.
Sure.
It was almost like a kind of Davy Jonesy type character, where there's this sort of villain who is interested in kind of one of the protagonists. So I don't remember if you remember, like Calypso.
Sure, yes.
It was that sort of thing. There's a point where he gets really close to her, and he's obviously kind of, I don't know if you say in love, but probably. And he's essentially like this distance away from her. For audio listeners, I don't know what you describe.
Very close.
Yeah, very close, like face to face, and you can just tell in his performance how much he wants her.
Is this like when he visits her for yeah, I know the scene you're on about.
And there's a very different performance in those scenes where it's like this vulnerable side to the character. Yeah. So yeah, I do think he did a very good performance.
I wish the film kind of did more with Nosferatu. Like, yeah, I weirdly think I adore how it ends. It left a very good taste in my mouth. Like, oh, did I enjoy this more than maybe I thought? But I wish it was trying to say more about like desire or just something. I felt like there was nothing for me to chew on as much as I wanted.
Nice pun. That might be the case. I've not like sat and tried to unpack it, but it is essentially just the story of someone who desires someone else and is kind of chasing them across the world.
Do you feel like it feels a bit like dated in the way that they're like, the only way for Nosferatu to be defeated is for you, the woman, to give yourself up to him willingly, and that's how he's defeated?
Maybe. I don't even know if I'd call it dated as much as I just call it cliched.
Yeah, okay, that's a way better word.
Because it's very much just protagonist needs to sacrifice themselves for us to win the day. Actually, that's another point. Who is the protagonist of this film?
I would say Lily Rose Depp, but very, very close is Nicholas Hoult.
And then does it become the couple that are the protagonists?
I guess, but then weirdly it becomes Willem Dafoe.
Yeah, so that was another thing that I think stood out to me as we were like rounding up the film. I was like, who am I supposed to kind of be following here? Because it does jump around. It becomes the team up film.
Yeah.
But it doesn't start as that. Because you become quite attached to Nicholas Hoult quite quickly.
Yeah.
And then you kind of lose him.
Which is sad because he is so impressive at the start. I mean, but the story he has to be lost. Honestly, you could have followed him though. I don't know if the other stories do this. I have read that like people are happy that this focuses on Lily Rose Depp. So I'm assuming that other versions don't as much, like don't give her as much autonomy.
See, that sounds like those previous stories are dated. And
yes, because you're completely abstracting the woman and then suddenly she defeats him. But I wonder if those stories you do follow Nicholas Hoult, like when he escapes the castle and then he ends up at the people that pick him up.
Oh, you think it's just like this jump?
Perhaps it just follows him the entire time.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure. And I don't know if that would make it better. I really have no idea either. I wrote something down that I kind of stand by. I think it was so immaculate, and it was polished to the point that it had nothing to it. It was so polished, there was no grit. If that makes any sense.
Let me sit on that. Yeah, I'm not sure because I suppose you don't necessarily feel the griminess to the film. I mean, it is essentially in the 1800s where I'm not so sure you feel as much of that grit because you do see rats and things, but I don't think you feel. You're never down in the ground. They never show you a peasant that's affected by the rats or anything. But I don't know about. There's a lot of grain in the film. That was one of the first things I noticed was the film grain, and I love to see that in film because there is too much polish in cinema nowadays. I think there's too much of post 2010 4K 8K IMAX kind of really clean looking shots.
Yes.
So I like that about the film.
When I say polished, I don't necessarily mean I mean filmmaking.
Yeah, sorry, I kind of got that, but I wanted to bring that in.
Oh, the film grain. Yeah, sure.
Do you think you can describe what you mean by it feeling too polished, an aspect or two?
Yeah, I can't put my finger on it. I just walked away, and not that films have to have some deep meaning behind it or anything. I wasn't particularly invested in the characters, and then thematically, I guess I wasn't particularly interested. So I was just going for filmmaking, how it looks and performances and stuff. So I just left feeling a bit that was really good. And that's it.
That's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing for you to, like you said, there's nothing for you to chew on.
Yeah.
You're not thinking about what the film taught you afterwards or anything
no.
like that.
And again, I think I could sing its praises on it was really cool how he managed to balance darkness and for a film that is as long as it is to maintain that atmosphere but also have pockets of desire and lust and sensuality in a way.
Yep.
Really impressive. I just didn't entirely I just wasn't immersed by it. I don't know.
No, I understand what you're saying. I was immersed, but I think I said this in the last episode. For some reason, when there's some supernatural extraterrestrial stuff going on, I think it freaks me out a bit. I don't know what it is. It's probably some childhood thing. So I was in it, especially from that first jump scare.
There's some parts as well that I would love to just sit and watch, some scenes. Anytime they use shadows, I was oh my god.
Again, a lot of the earlier stuff of the film in the castle looked great and really created an atmosphere that maybe wasn't there later on.
Yeah, until
the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then you really feel it.
Yes.
Also, should have said this, the score is phenomenal.
Yeah. Okay, I'm happy that you enjoyed the score.
Because
I enjoyed the score.
Oh my god. I've not looked up the score, but whatever the final track is, you know, when it's like you've got your team trying to take down Nosferatu, the swelling of that score is phenomenal, and then it ends in such a satisfying way as well.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Slightly less serious, just because we're on the topic of immersion. I was slightly brought out of it because of Counterlock's mustache. Which
Spoilers.
Spoilers. Counterlock has a mustache, and it makes him look like Dr. Robotnik or Dr. Eggman, whatever you call him. And so there was a couple of times in the film where that crossed through my brain instead of being terrified.
How do you think that's supposed to be played though in the movie? Because there's close-ups to like his face, but particularly that area. Yeah.
I think it's probably one of those things where it looks a little bit ridiculous, but they were probably trying to be faithful to how his character was written, or how old his character is, and therefore what his style would have been like at the time. Like what sort of facial hair that man would have had and has kept for the centuries that he has been a vampire. That's probably just the background to it.
Sorry, you confirming vampires are real?
Of course.
Whoa.
Surprise, I'm a vampire. That's why I'm so pale.
Directly in the sunlight.
It's terrible.
It's hilarious. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't have much more to say about the film. I wish I liked it more. But also really enjoyed it. What's your history with Robert Eggers as a director?
I think, unfortunately, I have still not seen the Robert Eggers film.
You've not seen any?
I've seen The Northman, and I have the opposite take of I don't particularly like The Northman. And people love The Northman, I think. And I've not seen The Lighthouse or The Vivitch. But I would love to see The Lighthouse. That's had a lot of praises. And it's one that I think you know, when you have a film night coming up, or like, you know, there's a block of time where you can watch a film and like The Lighthouse is like, a film is top of mind, and The Lighthouse has been that for a couple of times for me, but it's just never happened.
Nice.
Yeah.
I am sadly the same.
Oh, you've not seen The Lighthouse?
I've only seen
The
The
Northman.
Northman.
Like I've seen it.
Yeah.
You've not seen The Lighthouse? What
Crazy.
the hell?
I weirdly was more immersed in The Northman. I distinctly remember walking out of the screening of The Northman being like, whoa, like fully was in it. I just didn't get from this. Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, The Northman was probably more consistent in tone and atmosphere and things like that. Performances too.
I don't know if I'd say that, because this was really consistent in its atmosphere.
I don't know if it was, because like I said, the beginning and the end feel like...
Oh, yeah.
And then in the middle, there's this weird... It feels different. Yeah. And I don't remember The Northman well enough to necessarily comment on that. And be so sure about the fact that it was so sure in itself.
Sure.
But I reckon it probably was. And maybe that's why you would feel more immersed in that. Also, depends how you are, like, on the day sometimes.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying that's what that was for you, because I feel like...
Rewatch it, suddenly it's a masterpiece.
Yeah. I feel like I understand every single point that you've made, so those are probably the reasons that you never felt as immersed in the film.
And I'm just kind of sad that I don't like it more, because like seeing praise and seeing people really love Lily Rose Depp's performance in particular, I'm like, I wish I was that.
Yeah.
Never go into a movie and want to hate it or like come away, you know, not enjoying it as much, but
sure.
Yeah. Well, that was our review for Nosferatu. Unless you have anything more.
No, I think we've covered everything.
Nice.
Great. So,
we thought to round out this episode, we do a fun like fantasy film draft.
Yeah.
So we can check in at the end of the year, have a little competition going. Maybe like you can play along and make your own list. I think this actually will be quite fun to do. So we have 10 categories of films. They are superhero, action, drama, comedy, horror, sci-fi, blockbuster, animated sequel, and wild card. And we are going to draft films with the intention of, by the end of it, having the largest cumulative letterbox score.
Yeah.
So, for example, if one of the movies is like a 3.2 and the other is like a 4, they add up and total towards the end of the year. The only rule that we really have right now is it has to be a 2025 release in the UK, or I guess abroad, as long as it comes
Whatever
out.
it says on Letterboxd, I guess.
If it has a graph by the end of the year, then we're good. It also has to have no ratings at the moment, so it can't have premiered at a festival. Or, for example, there's a few UK films that have already premiered in the US, so we're not allowed to use them because we have some sort of idea.
I did notice that, yeah.
So this should be pretty fun. We're gonna...
Will it? I feel this is quite stressful.
I'm really excited, actually, because this isn't indicative of like my most anticipated, because I don't know if I'm most anticipated for
good films.
Good films.
Yeah.
I hope I am.
We'll see.
Yeah.
This can be annoying if like we get into this sort of momentum of like someone just keeps getting good films and the other person's like falling behind trying to like. Anyway, we have a coin, and we're gonna spin it. I'm gonna spin it instead of flip it.
Fair.
It's a big coin. Don't want to like smashing around, ruining the audio. And whoever gets, do you want heads or tails?
I'll take heads.
Okay. If Jack gets heads, he gets to go first, and gets to choose his category too.
Tails. Well.
Yes. I am quite happy with that.
Yeah. Okay.
I love chance. I mean, just to be clear, before we started this, Jack was also going to let me go first.
Yeah.
So like, that's not that disappointing for you.
I can act sad.
I think I'm going to lock in horror with 28 Years Later.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to... I mean, I feel like people will know what that movie is, but do you want to say what 20 Years Later is?
It's a Danny Boyle film. I think I've not seen any of that franchise, by the way.
Oh.
But I like Danny Boyle as director. And I'm pretty sure it's a zombie franchise.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the third one?
Yeah.
Because I think there's 28 days and months. Is it days and months? No, it's days and...
Hours and
weeks?
days? No, days and weeks. Days and weeks.
Anyway, this one's years. And I think... I'm not super sure about like what's going to be a good horror film. And I'm not aware of necessarily horror films that are coming out. So obviously I had a little look around, but normally they all look a bit trashy. There was a Talk to Me prequel, but obviously we saw that. I think I enjoyed it more than you did, and I don't know how high a rating that would get, so this just seemed like the obvious choice.
It was quite highly rated. People really like Talk to Me. I think that's a great choice, though. People love that franchise, so... nice. I am going to take superhero.
Okay.
I'm taking a chance on this. I'm going to go Fantastic Four.
Interesting.
There's 4 major superhero movies coming out next year. Fantastic Four, Superman, The Thunderbolts, and Captain America.
Yeah.
I think Captain America is going to be shocking. I think it's going to bomb.
I'm in the same boat as
Okay.
you. I don't think it's going to do very well.
I just have this horrible feeling about it. I mean, the reshoots and everything, what's been shown as well, I'm not loving. I think the Thunderbolts... maybe I shouldn't speak about my opinions on all...
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't. It might sway me.
It might sway you. Yeah,
it might make it obvious to me what you're going to choose and things like that. So.
I will stop myself.
Yeah.
The reason I chose Fantastic Four is they've not put a step wrong with what they've done so far.
Sure.
I think the casting is phenomenal, and I don't think people have an issue with the casting, so I can see them liking it a little more. I predict Marvel might have a shaky start to the year, and this will be like their Marvel's so back. Do you know how they flip-flop between Marvel's the worst thing in the world and then Marvel's so back? Yeah. I think it'll land
this
on
will be one of them.
Yeah, I think. And then also, I love the director, Matt Shackman. I think what he did with WandaVision was so cool. Mm-hmm. And then this is also a period.
Period.
It's a period movie. I'm just really excited for it. I just have faith in it.
I'm looking forward to it too, but I don't have faith in it.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. Because I feel like I know nothing about it yet, so it's a scary one.
If we're playing the game of like letterbox ratings, I just feel like it's going to do favorably with.
It's in the top
people.
half of the superhero films. I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I now go again.
Is that how that works?
Yeah. So ping pongs.
Is this why you wanted me to go first?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Now I'm actually. Oh, yeah. For my action movie, I'm gonna take Mission Impossible. Final Reckoning. Is that what it's called? The Final
Yes.
Reckoning.
Ridiculous, because the first one's called Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Part
which
1,
means they have to go back and change the name. Which
I didn't even realise that.
is not new for Tom Cruise films, because we had Edge of Tomorrow, which is still known as that, but it became advertised as Live, Die, Repeat. Which is way better anyway.
So, fun piece of information. We both don't like Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Yeah, we think it's awful. I had a rant about it a couple of days ago.
I'll nip that.
Yeah, we'll stop that
here. But it did so well with people. The cinema we were in, people loved it. The people we were with loved it. And also just favourably on Letterboxd, it has a good score.
Yeah, it's really high up people's Mission Impossible rankings. I like the films. You really like the Mission Impossible films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The previous trilogy to Dead Reckoning Part 1,
yeah,
I think is like top tier blockbuster filmmaking. And then that one just was such a letdown, but people enjoyed it. And this is being advertised as the final one. I think there's going to be a massive like press campaign around it. I think he's going to do something mental. I just foresee it being really highly rated. Cool. I hope. I also hope I enjoy it. Like maybe it's hopeful that I'm doing this. But who knows?
Okay. Do I get to now?
Yeah.
Excellent. My sci-fi. I'm choosing Mickey 17.
Interesting.
Because it's a Bong Joon-ho film. It's got Robert Pattinson. What could go wrong there? I if this is a bad film, I'm gonna be so sad. Do you think it's gonna be a bad film?
I sadly, yeah. I don't want to say that. I don't want to put that into the universe.
Yeah.
There's been so many pushbacks.
Right. Okay.
And the time it's releasing, I just think is really weird now. It's not going for the Oscar-y slots of like the back half of the year, which it doesn't have to. But I feel like that is sometimes a good indicator. But
I'm quite happy to have something that's a bit controversial then, because if I lose with a bang. Do you know? And I'm going to lock in my wild card as Mother Mary.
Fuck! No!
I thought that would be one of yours, so I've got that in the bag.
Do you want to say what Mother Mary is?
I actually don't know what Mother Mary is.
Pissed me
but
off. You just picked it because I'm really excited.
Yeah, it was highly anticipated for you. And it would only fit in the drama category, I would think. So I chose it as my wild card.
Ew. Do you want me to give it?
Yeah, go on.
So it's it is a movie by David Lowery, who made The Green Knight, which I adore. And then this movie stars Anne Hathaway and Michaela Cole in the two lead roles. Can Anne Hathaway be added to our stand book?
Yes, we stan Anne Hathaway. She might be at the top of the stand book.
Oh, she's just making her way right to the top.
We might bump her up.
I mean, truly phenomenal. I love her in everything. Michaela Cole was in a BBC series called I May Destroy You, which, if you've not seen, phenomenal. Like, devastating.
Not the poster that's like purpley, bluey.
Yeah. Truly, I don't even really want to say much about it. Just give it a watch. It's really great. And the description, also it stars Hunter Schafer, FK Twigs, and Kaya Gerber. It's just a phenomenal cast all round. And the description reads, an epic pop melodrama following a fictional musician and her relationship with an iconic fashion designer. And I'm just really excited.
Excellent.
And then, if I'm not mistaken, there are songs in the movie written by Jack Antonoff and Charlie XCX. So, I honestly think it's a great pick as well, because it's one of those movies that I foresee being like, yes, Mother Mary.
Mother.
Yeah, truly. Now I'm confused as to where to go, because you know what I
It's
like.
a dangerous game.
Yeah. I'm gonna go for my animated movie, and I'm gonna go with Elio. There's not many animated movies to go off of. Currently, I couldn't find a lot coming out. But I feel like Elio is the movie that makes sense. It's Pixar's newest movie.
Sure.
Pixar normally have quite high ratings. I'm excited for this movie. Yeah, and the other ones are just weak in my opinion.
Okay.
Unless you've managed to find one that's good, but
This is so stressful.
I know.
I'm like sweating over here.
And then, oh no, I just don't know what you're gonna pick. I think I'm gonna go for my comedy, and I'm gonna go with Materialists. Which, if you don't know this movie, it is Celine Song's newest movie. Who was the director of Past Lives. It stars Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal. And the description reads, set against the vibrant background of New York City, a high-end matchmaker gets involved with a wealthy man, but still harbours feelings for the broke actor-waiter she left behind. I have so much faith in Celine Song. Past Lives was phenomenal. I think people really gravitate towards that story. She's doing something similar with a cast of people that people really like. Pedro Pascal, I think, has a lot of people have a lot of faith in him.
Yeah.
Dakota Johnson, when she does stuff like this and not superhero movies,
Madam Web.
I don't know what you're on about. I feel like she also is like quite liked. And then I think this might be the start of like the Chris Evans renaissance that should have happened after Endgame.
The Chris Evans.
Love that. The Chris Evans. But he just chose horrific movies. So I'm really hoping that this is good. So yeah, that's my pick.
Excellent. Do you think Chris Evans chose horrific projects?
Yes.
Because he was in Knives Out the same year as Endgame.
The same year. So after Endgame, what has he been in that's been...
Was he not in a good Apple TV Plus show?
Was that after Endgame?
I don't know. I mean, he was obviously in Red One. But like, what else has he been in that's been horrendous?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. It's just a vibe, I guess.
Just a perception.
I mean, he was in Free Guy. Like, barely... Sorry, this is exactly what I was thinking. He's in The Grey Man.
Oh, which I haven't seen.
Which is awful. I guess he... Oh, and then he did Ghosted with Ana de Armas, which is one of the worst movies I've seen. Yeah,
Okay.
sad.
I'm going to lock in what I'm assuming is a drama.
Okay.
The Battle of Bacton Cross.
Fuck, you've taken both my dramas.
No! I thought this might happen.
Oh, no. Okay.
Which is a PTA film. And the plot is TBA on Letterboxd. It's got Leo DiCaprio. I feel like, what could go wrong?
Yeah, no, I think that's
Touch
all
wood.
you have to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of his films really rate that bad.
Yeah, I don't think there's a single one. I was trying to figure out how I should do this, because obviously I did mine quite last minute. I'm like trying to go through and be like, is this a trusted director? Like, because a director says a lot about a film.
Yeah.
I think. So I thought this was a safe pick. In terms of what I choose next, this is a scary one.
It's hard, isn't it? Like on the fly, trying to do back to back as well.
It is quite difficult. I think for action, I feel like action and blockbuster you can kind of fill in with like the same kind of areas.
Sure.
I think I'm going to have to go with Superman.
In your action.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
Your response to that freaked me out a little bit, but that's fine.
Well, I mean, it's locked in now, but like, I'm just curious what your superhero movie will be. I have an inkling of what it will be, but interesting.
You know what? I'm not gonna lie. I completely forgotten I hadn't done my superhero yet, but it's fine. It's locked in. I'll make up for it.
How do you think the reception will be to Superman?
It's weird because I don't think either of us particularly like the trailer. It just looks a bit funny, and we thought it looked a bit like a CW show. But I generally trust James Gunn and think that he can pull it out of the bag. Because I mean, if you look at this like Suicide Squad, the palette for that, it's wild.
Sure.
And Guardians too, but Suicide Squad specifically is quite cartoony, and he still manages to pull it off. So I'm going to trust him.
Yeah. That was my toss up for like superhero. I have this weird inkling that I think it will be good. I think there will be people that don't like it though. I think because there's so much riding on it, considering it's like it's not the start of the DC, but for all intents and purposes it is.
Yeah.
Also being like Superman, like the most known superhero. I don't know. I feel like there's so much that if he gets it right, it could be amazing. But I don't. Yeah.
Agreed.
Anywho, now I'm really confused as to what I have to do. I'm gonna go for sequel, and I'm gonna go Wake Up Dead Man, which is the the third Knives Out movie. Very much have faith in Rian Johnson.
Good.
The other two movies are great to varying degrees.
Great and good.
Yeah.
To me.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's just one of these movies that I'm like, this can't go wrong. Like, as long as the case is compelling, you have a stacked cast. I mean, Daniel Craig obviously, but Josh O'Connor, who he's having his moment. Like, if he goes into a bad movie, I just don't see it for him.
Sure.
Cally Spaney, who is also having a moment. Andrew Scott, Glenn Close, Kerry Washington, Josh Brolin.
I think there's something to be said for how much time they're giving the film. Well, this is going to be a 3-year gap between each film, I think, which is pretty good going, especially because 2 of them got picked up for Netflix. And not that Netflix would rush. I don't think they've ever rushed anyone to get anything out, but they probably easily could if they were just like trying to make a quick buck off of these like murder mystery films.
Yeah.
But giving them both the time to get like a good script together and a good cast together it's a good way of doing things.
Yeah. So really hoping that's good. And now we struggle. I think I'm going to go for my sci-fi, and I'm going to go for The Running Man, which is Edgar Wright's new movie. And I was very happy putting together my list of movies coming out to find out he has a movie coming out.
I didn't know this.
Yeah, surprise. It stars Glenn Powell and Katie O'Brien. And I'll give you a little description, I guess.
Please.
Set in an oppressive future where the government controls the media, Ben Richards volunteers to participate in a deadly game show which will see him hunted by professional killers over 30 days. Should he survive, he'll win a cash prize that will help save his sick child and lift his family out of a horrid living situation.
Someone really enjoys Squid Games.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I love him as a director. The last movie he did, I don't like. I like every single one of his films, bar his last movie. I just see that as a fluke. It's not a streak.
Also, the last one's not bad.
I don't like it. People
Yeah,
like it.
You don't like it, but you also think it's bad, or you don't like it.
I don't.
And you think
I
it's
don't
fine.
think it's good.
You just straight up think it's bad. Fair enough.
But again, it's not necessarily my opinion. It's public opinion, and I think again one of these massive directors where the cast people love. Glenn Powell's also having a moment, and I like him in these. I'm hoping it's gonna be a little bit more like gritty, something like Hitman. and not Anyone But You, or Twisters. I hope. not that they're awful.
Don't say Twisters is bad. I still have to see it. You gotta hype it up for me.
Yeah, sorry. Twisters is so good. I mean, you know, his iconic role in The Dark Knight Rises. So,
Broker.
Yeah, that's me. That's my double, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay, so how am I gonna do this?
I'm a little like confused as to what I have left as well.
I think for my this is stressful. For my blockbuster, I'm gonna go with Wicked for Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean we've talked about it here. Wicked was really good, and I feel like they could stick the landing very well, and if they do, it's going to be very highly rated. I'm not going to sit and explain what Wicked is. People should probably know what it is at this point.
Interestingly, the back half of the show, people say is worse, but then there's, you know, they're adding in new songs.
Yeah, they have time to improve it, which I think is what they're going to do with The Last of Us too, because like we loved the story. There was a lot of people that didn't like how it was structured. I think a lot of things that happened earlier in the story, I think people wished would happen later. So I think they might go ahead with that in the show. We'll see. I think they're stretching the last game out to 2 seasons. So
your point tying that to Wicked?
Yeah, having time between an adaptation to change it.
It's filmed.
But between the adaptation of
the show.
The show from like decades ago.
Whoops. Yeah, okay. I'm like, I don't think they can change it. Sure, yeah. And also there's like the little bits of them maybe going past the show and stuff.
Right. Okay. And God, this is difficult. My sequel. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if I'm aware of how many sequels there are coming out.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a safe play or not, because I haven't seen the film.
Yeah.
Zootopia 2?
Okay.
Because I think that was quite a highly rated film.
Yeah.
And it's the same director, I think, plus another, I think it's 2 directors on this film.
Oh, is it the same people?
Which I think is a good sign, and it's a while between films.
Yes. Do you worry that it's a cash grab?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Normally I think they have been quicker.
Yeah.
I feel like there's been a good bit of time between this one and the last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I need to figure out what I have left. I have drama, horror, blockbuster, and my wild card. Okay.
I've played this really strangely, actually, because I think I have superhero action and animated, and the superhero and action ones are going to be a bit funny.
I mean, you played it well because you blocked me from you fully took
a lot of good films.
Yeah. Blocked to my. So yeah, I need to think about what could block you, but I don't think I really. I'm gonna go with my wild card, and my wild card is Oh Hi. This is a movie. I really hope this is good, because there's very little information about it, and it's also by a director that hasn't really done much. Literally the description is Iris and Isaac's first romantic weekend getaway goes awry. But it's starring Molly Gordon and Logan Lerman. I really like Molly Gordon as an actress.
Okay.
And I like the project she's picked. Do you know who she is?
No, actually.
You will. So she was in Booksmart and Shiva Baby. Have you seen Shiva Baby?
But I've seen Booksmart. I've seen that.
Yeah. Oh, Theatre Camp. She directed Theatre Camp.
Oh, it's her.
Yeah, and is like the co-lead of that movie.
Yes. Yeah.
I just like the projects that she's picked, and these like romantic comedies kind of stuff that she's done are relatively good. and people are really wanting Logan Lerman back and stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping, even if this isn't good, it gets like a favorable rating from people because of the cast. But that's really all I'm going off of. And then my horror. Oh, horror's weird because I am really like. It's not a genre I enjoy, and I feel like it's very hard to pick ones that rate well. I have 2 written down. I'm gonna go with The Bride.
Okay.
Which is Maggie Gyllenhaal's next movie. So she did The Lost Daughter last, which I really enjoyed. Has a decent rating. I'm not going to give you the description. It's Bride of Frankenstein, that kind of stuff. And I'm picking this over Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. I don't know why. I just have a little bit more faith in this being a slightly different, unique adaptation of it. I also, now I'm regretting this because I'm like, if people end up being weird on the internet and going like, versus his is better.
It's such a big consideration because what we're doing is we're looking at Letterboxd.
Yes.
And I think you kind of notice when you look at more contemporary cinema, things I think generally have like a lower rating because people have more people have seen the film to rate it lower.
Yes.
And you look back at older films, like they have higher ratings. Maybe it's because they've stood the test of time. But even if you look within a single director's filmography, it seems like they have a lot of lower ratings higher up, even if the films aren't much worse. So you're kind of having to consider a sheep mentality of like everyone's on Letterboxd now, so like everyone gets an even weighting. So you just never know how a film's going to be rated, and so if you do get a big chunk of people who are incelly and kind of a bit weird on the internet, then that could ruin your chances.
Literally regret.
But it's actually what I wondered if it's what you were considering when you were choosing a lot of like the superhero films, because more people are going to see those, so maybe there will be a lot of like more like nerdy cinema goers like ourselves that are bringing those scores up. So you just don't know.
It's fun though, isn't it? 'Cause you're really not talking about if a movie's good.
We're talking about psychology here as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so what? Now I get 2.
Yes.
And then I get 2, and then it's 1-1.
Yeah.
Cool. So, for my superhero, this is the one where I've really shot myself in the foot because the 2 better superhero films have now been picked. So it's gonna have to be Thunderbolts.
Whoa, shocked by that pick.
I think this one has like a chance of being like good. I don't think Captain America does, unfortunately, which is so annoying because like that trilogy is relatively tight. So to have a 4th banger at the end would be fantastic, but I don't think that's what's going to happen.
On the Thunderbolts, I really hope it's good. And even though I think in my head it's not going to be, the trailers have been really good. And also it's by the guy who made Beef.
Yes, yeah, it is.
And Beef's phenomenal. And the movie is like Beef.
Yeah.
They're all beefing with each other. I really do have faith in it.
So it feels like there's more of a chance. You know?
I hope so. I hope it's like one of those, we picked a director and we've learned from our mistakes and we're letting them do what they want.
Yeah.
And not Eternals, you tried and then we also wanted to shove in our superhero shit at the same time.
Yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to choose my action. This is a difficult one because I'm obviously not choosing Captain America. I'm actually going to choose Avatar 3.
No.
Which is called Avatar Fire and Ash.
Do you want to speak more? Because now I'm really screwed.
Yeah, no, sure. I mean, obviously you can cut around it anyway, but I think it's almost like knowing what they do now about the Avatar franchise, I think they could make a better 3rd film. Because we had the first one, which is a bit of a technological advancement for the time, and people did enjoy it, but years after people were like, no one talks about Avatar because it was fine, it was whatever, it was meh. And then the second one came out, it looked even better, and it told the first one in a more interesting way. It was deeper, and I'm wondering if James Cameron will have learned his lesson within that universe, writing the story and the plot for the second one, bring what he's learned through to the third one, coupled with how good the film could possibly look. I'm wondering if that will be quite successful this year. I think it also has a chance of being quite unsuccessful this year. But we'll just have to see.
They're rated high though. I didn't think you'd take it, if I'm being honest. They're rated high, which is great. And if this does anything more than retelling the same story as the first two, people might just be like, oh,
yeah,
like this.
It's supposed to. It's fire and ash.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if they're just introducing like the Fire Nation
and a Dark Nation. I think.
I thought there was like air nomad people. I genuinely think they're doing the Avatar
they're
Last
doing
Airbender, but I'm not sure which film those come in.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure if this is just fire or if they are doing the fire and the air people. But I think they're going to be fleshing out the universe even more. In a really laughable way because they are just doing the elements. But I think people will find that interesting. So
yeah, I don't think that's a bad pick at all. Okay, so I get my last two now. I guess my drama, I'm gonna pick Plain Clothes. There's a few dramas I had that I actually don't have faith they're gonna come out, and I don't want to score a 0.
yeah, we should actually mention that because this is a question I asked you yesterday, which was that if a film gets delayed to the point where it just doesn't come out, what happens? You get a score of 0. We did discuss going about 6 months down the line. If that happens to any of them, we can bring in a new one in the category.
Yeah, we'll do a check-in in like 6 months.
July or something.
Yeah. Maybe like before festivals.
Okay.
And if we can like swap out 2 if they've been delayed.
Sure. So we can't change anything that's like locked in.
Yeah.
It's going to be fine because that,
won't be the point, so Plain Clothes is a movie starring Tom Blythe and Russell Tovey. I haven't seen Tom Blythe in a ton, but I really liked him in Hunger Games. I just thought he gave a great performance in that, and I really like Russell Tovey, who is Years and Years Man.
Oh,
yeah,
I like Russell Tovey.
Not a lot to go off because this is also a directorial debut. I just have a feeling that this is maybe going to be one of those like past lives, like
a shocker
feature debuts that's going to get a lot of acclaim. The premise is a promising undercover officer assigned to lure and arrest gay men defies professional orders when he falls in love with a target. I just feel like it gives the vibe of like prestige, could go to a festival. Not much to go off. I've just realised I've kind of shot myself in the foot because I could have went for Marty Supreme, which is the Joss Shafty movie with Timothy Chalamet.
I did notice that when I was looking at films.
However, I'm left with Blockbuster, and that is not a blockbuster.
Yeah, Blockbuster is a difficult one.
I can speak openly now because you're what's your last one? Horror?
My last one's animated, so nothing's
going
to overlap.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, literally all of my blockbusters have kind of been taken.
Yeah.
I do not want to go for Cap because I don't have faith in that. I guess Now You See Me 3 is like a block, but again, like I think that'll be fun, but I don't think it's going to get a good rating.
So interesting because like I've seen them talk about it and they're spending a lot of time on it.
Yes.
So I considered it.
Really?
Yeah. But then I think I looked at the director and I was like, that's not necessarily a good sign.
You have like the live action Lilo and Stitch, which again,
you shouldn't be helping me with the animated stuff.
That's not animated. That is live action.
No, that's animated.
No,
because the Stitch is animated.
No way. By a director I love, but I don't think that'll be good. Does F1 count
as
a blockbuster?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I wouldn't count it, but
see, I actually think that will get good ratings despite me having absolutely zero interest in watching it. It's what's his name? Joseph Kosinski, who did the John Wicks, if I'm not mistaken. No, he didn't. He did Top Gun Maverick. And people love Top Gun Maverick. It's So I feel like that would be good. I don't know. I think I'm going to go for, if I say this, is it lock in? I'm going to go for Jurassic World Rebirth.
Cool. It would be nice for that film to be a good one.
Right. Maybe a little bit hopeful. Obviously, the previous ones do not have good scores. I'm actually so pissed that I didn't get Avatar. Like, I've got Jurassic World. This is an upward, like, battle, I think, because people do not like the way that franchise went. People are exhausted with it.
Yeah.
It needs to be something completely different, and the fact that it's called Jurassic World still maybe is not a great
differentiate themselves in some way.
I guess I'm going off of, I love the casting in this. Scarlett Johansson, Jonathan Bailey, which I'm maybe hoping there's some sort of like letterbox favorability there. And it's directed by Gareth Edwards, who did Rogue One. The creator, which didn't get great reviews. Oh, I'm not confident in this.
Well, I have animated now, and I think the two best animated films have been mentioned already for this year, probably. See, I'm annoyed now because I was stupid and just kind of went, oh, Lilo and Stitch, and didn't think about the live action aspect of it. I was just picturing that CGI Stitch and being aware of like Lilo and Stitch is a really good animated film.
Yeah.
So like that was my pick. But obviously you're right, that doesn't count.
Yeah.
That's not fair. It's in the same way that when we were doing that class at uni and they were talking about CGI, they were calling CGI animation, which it technically is, but it kind of grinds my gears in a certain way.
Like, yeah.
Because I think it differentiates itself enough that it is something that is separate. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so I think my choice here is between, and it's weird because I have your most anticipated list up here, so I can kind of see like the order you've got stuff in. It's essentially between, for me, Flow and Bad Guys 2, because I haven't seen Bad Guys.
So you cannot pick Flow.
Why is that?
Because that has premiered.
Okay. Oh, it has a it didn't have one when I clicked on it. That is very annoying.
Yeah.
The other animated films I basically don't know enough about to kind of determine if it would be any good.
Yes, totally. Also, it feels like, do you know when you start a year and then you look at like the Oscar contenders?
Yeah.
There's a lot of animated movies that just appear.
Yeah.
That I didn't know of at the start.
Sure. So, I'll probably just lock in Bad Guys 2.
I don't think that's a bad choice as well, because I haven't seen the first, but the first is a great graph. Like, people really like the first.
So that's kind of what I'm banking on, is that the first one was, I wouldn't say a successful film, because I don't think it like blew up. Mm-hmm. I don't think a lot of people have seen it, but a success in terms like critically.
Yeah.
Which is important. That's
well
what we're looking
as
for.
well.
So. Cool.
Wow. There's our list. Should we read out, I guess, what we have as our 10?
Okay, so we've come to the realization that I chose an action film twice. Oops. So I chose Superman the first time and Avatar the second time, so I don't get Avatar, which I'm a little bit annoyed about because I'm not sure. Avatar actually might have a higher graph, but it is what it is. So I have to choose a comedy now. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to make that Marty Supreme, because I think that's the one that you wanted.
Oh, that actually wasn't what I was thinking of.
I could have chosen A Real Pain. That is the highest on your anticipated list. But it's Jesse Eisenberg. I'm not sure how much I'm going to trust Jesse Eisenberg as a director.
It's also out.
There you go. So I couldn't have picked it anyway.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say I'm super clued in on the comedy scene. I've seen the trailer for Y2K, and I think it has a funny concept.
Also is out and has not received the best. Yeah.
Things are coming out quick.
Yeah, so this is the period of time where, let me get on my little, what do they call it? What's the expression? Let me get on my Apple box.
Should get on your Apple box, yeah.
The UK film distribution where everything's out in the States, and then it's like, oh, January, let's just dump everything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Can I tell you what I would have picked?
Sure, go for it.
Begonia, which
I see that
is Yorgos's next movie.
But I didn't love Kinds of Kindness, so...
The people did, though. It's got a good graph. Anyway, that also means we figured out when you picked that action again, my blockbuster would have been free. So I will not be taking Jurassic World Rebirth, and I will be taking Avatar. Because fuck that. My really nuanced discussion on, maybe it'll be good. Nah.
Okay, valid, I'll give you that.
I swear, if Jonathan Bailey ends up raising that score up higher than Avatar, I'll be so pissed.
I really hope he does now.
Avatar will come out
this year.
I just thought this. Scarily.
Have you locked it in now? And I'm not going to change another time.
No, well, I didn't change. Well, you fucked up, sir.
Yeah, well, we both did because neither of us caught it.
Generous.
I think it will come out this year.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's a tentpole Disney movie in December. I feel like it has to.
And they've been filming them like back to back.
Yeah.
So it's not like they don't have like the footage is there. I would imagine. Depends how quick they can throw the rest of it together.
Yeah.
In terms of editing, because we know how much footage there was for the second film. Remember there was like a 10-hour cut or something.
10-hour cut, yeah.
And then obviously they have to do the CGI. We saw that together.
Would you have watched
a 10-hour cut?
Yeah, if it went on Disney Plus, because there was rumors.
I would probably watch a series, but it would they'd actually have to put the effort in. They can't just throw a cut in a random place and then just for it to be a 4-part film. That wouldn't be enjoyable. Anyway, that is our
fantasy film ranking.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun doing that.
Yeah, so did I.
If you want to like make your own lists on Letterboxd or something, that'd be kind of fun. Like with 10 movies.
Yeah.
Or like do this with a friend. Because I think this could be like such a fun way of just keeping track of what's coming out and having a bit of fun with it.
Excellent.
We'll do a check-in halfway through the year.
Yeah, well, I think July is a good...
Yeah, because it is before festivals.
Yeah.
I like that. And then we will, I guess, see next year how this has went.
Yeah.
Fun. Thank you so much for listening
to this second episode.
Yeah, second episode. 2 in the books. Whoa.
Yeah,
Look at us for a proper podcast now.
Yeah. We're up in the big leagues. Top 40.
I mean, not a lie. Next week, we will be talking about Baby Girl. That's our main film. And we will be talking about A Real Pain as well. I'm not sure if both of us will have seen that, but I will have.
We have lives, so we're trying to arrange when we get to see films around those. And so our plan is to, every week, at least one of us has seen the film or films that we're talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, join us for that. We will probably just touch on what we've watched as well next week, because this week we did a draft. Yeah.
Excellent.
Like, review, subscribe, all that stuff.
Rate, follow. Yeah, you can follow people on Spotify, which we found out.
Yeah.
So do that. And then give us a nice review, please.
Please.
Bye.